This video is intended to describe a lightblade wand named Truth. Joining me today will be my whimsical stick figure chakra map, which I'll be utilizing quite a bit for visual guide reference to the different various crystalline components stimulating the chakra column, as well as this lovely white leather which will be installed over this segment after this video is fully completed, as well as a few prominent badgings which will be installed on top of the leather. So getting right into the Truth, the lightblade wand, I'll discuss the primary blade band scaffolding, which vaguely resembles a figure 8 seen right here, to recirculate the perpetual energized momentum of this entire complex vibratory construct. So the aspect right here of why I notarize the aspect of the figure 8 running a perpetual closed-loop circuit is to serve as a way to govern the excess overture of the exotic variables, to be grounded into the structure to contain and recirculate the energy for maximum recirculation energetic momentum efficiency. Starting off with the transmutation ratio seen right here. Also going underneath this lovely blue leather is the same exact ratio I'll be describing momentarily that goes right to here, to this lateral band, then redirects and grounds back into here to make its own subroutine circuit, if you would, of the transmutation ratio through this whole segment. Starting off with hematite, to be a tremendous iron-based mineral to ground all excess energy firmly through the entire chakra column into the root, into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing. In tandem with smoky quartz seen right here, performing much the same energy pathway stimulation to ground all excess energy through the energy body, into the root chakra, into the earth stars, and into the earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. So the two together is what has been deemed the transmutation ratio, for they work very well in synergy together to make a very strong grounding of all excess energy through the root chakra, into the earth's meridian matrix for reprocessing, which could be considered transmutation by consistently grounding very quickly into the earth, is also a way to ensure that there's a strong purification of energetic dialysis with two-way contact patch with Mother Earth at a very quick ratio. As well as, that's of course a fantastic subroutine feature to have a mechanism to make a strong purification by grounding into the earth. And also, it works as a great contingency to indeed make all these other high frequency variables grounded into the earth to bring tangibility to the magic, besides just being its own energetic purification transmutation ratio. So with all these exotic variables yet to be mentioned, because we have a long way to go for this full dissertation, all these other frequencies running through the circuit will be encouraged to ground into the tangible range based on this scaffolding right here, which is why it's quite important to discuss. And like I mentioned, the ignition sequence of hematite and smoky quartz ignites offset all the way like so into this lateral band underneath this lovely blue leather seen right here to this lateral band. So there indeed is actually blade banding exactly like this underneath the leather hood to perpetuate the grounding of this energetic momentum of this device. So I'll get straight into the primary blade band. Why, of course, its designated Truth is based on this particular frequency emanation. Starting off with clear quartz seen right here, being a very lovely neutral accelerant of energy into the current, into rutilated quartz, which is actually clear quartz with bands of rutile in there, which works as a massive acceleration of energy, like a supercharger of this particular current sequence. Going into the lovely, famous, legendary aquamarine. Aquamarine is a very fantastic beryl family cousin to emerald that is of the blue ray, the cardinal water elemental frequency stone. So it's also quite prolifically utilized and notarized in human history of being a stone of magic. And being a cousin to emerald, it means it's also a precious stone of the beryl family that has a hardness of oftentimes 7.5 to 8 to make a very dense atomical structure of this lovely blue ray rendition. Being a fantastic fourth and fifth chakra stimulant of virtually unrivaled compare because of its notarization and utilization in humanity's history. So it is tremendously powerful water elemental stone, but the aspect also of being the primary focus of the heart's stimulation connection to the fifth chakra is very much the conducive emanations of energy to be in one's highest truth through the quantum portal that is the heart that connects to all of creation. Then to have that line to the conscious self is very much the aspect of why truth was honored with the archetypal concept of aquamarine in an energized circuit. So that's enough aquamarine talk. I think you get the idea. So if it's a very lovely water elemental frequency, to be of that of one's highest truth in their heart, and also to most importantly speak that truth in a coherent God willing, and be in line with that truth, and just be a foundational anchor to be in one's truth at all times is the aspect too. And so obviously there's many other fifth chakra stimulant frequencies through the whole construct. So at a glance, it's very obviously a very potent fifth chakra stimulant blade to be very conducive to honoring one's personal highest truth. So here's the aquamarine once again, then going into golden healer quartz as a subcapacitator. Golden healer quartz is a fantastic gold white light high heart stimulant source alignment attunement frequency. So obviously in a metaphysical endeavor, having a very clean, free crystalline resonant attunement to the source of creation is no small jest to say. So obviously that has a very strong concentration of being in one's truth in connection to creation in this primary blade band circuit that works to redirect this entire energy focus as it completes its circuit. Not a circus, God willing. And so the aspect right there is that the root spade quartz, the aquamarine, and the golden healer quartz makes a very powerful accelerated heart's truth connection to creation by vibrational design to just be that primary blade band sub-circuit. Then going into rutilated quartz, then going into aquamarine and golden healer quartz, and so on, until it grounds back into the clear quartz to be the neutral ambient energizer, grounding back into the transmutation ratio to take all that high frequency truth energy construct and grounding it back into the transmutation scaffolding to once again encourage all the magic to ground to reality, to be, of course, to make the magic real, and to also purify the system while it's doing it too. So that'd be the blade band scaffolding mentioned thus far. And one more blade band down here is an auxiliary blue ray fifth chakra stimulant. That's very complementary to the blade facing scene right here, which eventually I worked my way from the engine section all the way up. But when I describe these guys, a lot of these will, of course, will be well described right here by the time I get there, because it's more of a heavy concentration on the blade face of the same emanation scene right here besides the turquoise. Okay. So clear quartz, once again, to be neutral accelerant, going into lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is a very famous stone of Egypt that was utilized as a homage to Isis, the goddess, as well as being one of sovereign highest truth, and a very classic fifth and sixth chakra stimulant of wind elemental frequency. That is very much a sovereign highest truth generator. So when it comes to the truth, the lapis was definitely required to be in heavy concentration in the construct to really be complementary to the heart's truth in that capacity. So a classic stone of ancient Egyptian utilization, and a classic stone of increasing one's connection to their sovereign self, and of course encouraging the third eye development of the siddhis or psychic gifts in connection to their highest template in creation. So a very classic, well-loved stone across creation for many thousand years now. Going to clear quartz, going into Larimar. Larimar is a very fantastic water and fire elemental fifth and sixth chakra stimulant, and was discovered in the early 80s. I'm sure if it was discovered sooner, it'd be a great famous stone, much like its cousin seen right here. Larimar is a very fantastic, soothing, highest truth stimulant to bring one in an oasis of calm that is basically very encouraging to be in one sovereign truth in a very calm fashion with irrefutable evidence for the oneself's truth, basically. So that's a very nice dose of that very calming fifth chakra soothing emanation. Going into clear quartz, into the classic turquoise, just like lapis, a favorite of millions for thousands of years, due to the great praise it's had across the world at this point for thousands of years, of being a great stone of magic. Turquoise is a very fantastic fifth chakra stimulant as well. It combines the aspects of earth, fire, water, and wind, that being of wholeness of the truth in oneself. That is why, of course, it's quite famous, which I won't get into because we have a lot more ground to cover before this video is through. But turquoise, fantastic classic stone of praise and crystalline application across humanity. Then clear quartz, to be once again be a neutral accelerant of this energy, into blue lace agate. Blue lace agate is a very amazing water elemental stabilizer of the fifth chakra, because the agates and jaspers, for that matter, which eventually we'll be getting to quite a bit more here, are fantastic stabilizers of whatever elemental color range they are corresponding with. So the blue lace agate is the most absolute stable fifth chakra stimulant to encourage stabilized truth at all times in that capacity. Then clear quartz, then lapis, then so on as it completes its circuit down right here, grounded into the transmutation blade band to be another just subroutine of high focused fifth chakra stimulation to encourage one's highest truth in reality. So that indeed would be the entirety of the blade band scaffolding discussed thus far, which once again vaguely resembles a figure 8 to redirect and contain the energy in a consistent closed loop circuit, which is very applicable for this next section, which would be many of the loose stones that basically make up the engine, because all these other frequencies about to be mentioned are actually grounded into a main vein or a primary wire. So you can consider all these components much like organs of this crystalline entity that are all part of the whole, generating vibrational compound interest through the entire vibratory structure, with slight variations of energy buffers and stimulations for maximum effectivity and dynamic range stimulation to the entire light body, essentially. So starting off with the Lemurian clear quartz to be the main heart of the construct, which is the most ambient, neutral, programmable crystalline component seen right here in the greatest dose, besides the focalizers, which eventually will come up to. So the clear quartz, of course, works as the most ambient, neutral, resonant frequency of this particular design to be very much encouraging the aspect of one's prayers or magic to be run the current through the construct, to be very much in the realm of consciousness-assisted technology, of being able to harness one's higher spiritual dharma into focus through the device, into, of course, intensify their prayers in service to creation, God willing, in that capacity. And so that's why the clear quartz also plays a huge role being a very neutral ambient frequency programmable device. Hence, they're seen so much in prolific nature of the different subroutines to be just neutral ambient resonance with one's magic, so to speak. To keep it kind of simple for once. So at the very apex of this blade between these two guys right here, I will discuss the Star Argonite. Star Argonite is a very fantastic calcium-based master healer I utilize quite frequently for very utilitarian facts of being a tremendous full light body stimulant from the bottom and to top to stimulate the entire chakra column in unison, and also, most importantly, dismantle any patterns of dis-ease that be impeding a healthy flowing light body consistently. So it's a very dynamic, gentle master healer that stimulates the entire chakra column, but also in a calcite format clears any densities from top to bottom as well. Then right here is a very special cactus quartz or spirit amethyst quartz that is quite the dynamic higher self stimulant in its own right, because many of these aspects why it's called cactus quartz actually has a whole symphony of different quartz structures in one component, which is a very fantastic full light body stimulant as well, and being a dramatic merger to the higher self-consciousness in a very dynamic way that's also very expansive and enlightening. So that's why the spirit quartz right here is the other main focus right here, to be a very perpetual dharmic accelerant to put one in touch with their divine nature in the conscious self realm, grounded into 3D reality. So I'll discuss this next section in one shot because they're all quite critical and play off each other very well for like the equilibrium longevity aspect of this construct of truth. So right here are the agates and jasper section in one concentration. And the reason I discuss them in one shot is for a very intensive distinctive purpose of intentional design. So right here is red jasper, the most stabilized red ray root chakra stimulant in the earth bandwidth to stabilize the earth energy through the root chakra, which is obviously very advantageous. Then the aspect of fire agate next to it. Fire agate is the most stable fire stimulant to stabilize the root and stimulate the sacrum and solar plexus, the lower three of the scaffolding, in a very dynamic, stabilizing way, thank goodness. Then going into the water realm of moss green agate seen right here, which is the most powerful stabilizer of the green ray heart chakra water elemental stimulant. Then once again, blue lace agate to be the most stabilized water elemental fifth chakra stimulant. Then going into grape agate seen right here to be the most stabilized 6th and 7th wind elemental stabilization. So when you take the aspects of the most stable varieties of earth, fire, water, and wind found in the Lakota medicine wheel, it makes a very dynamic stabilization of the 4 terrestrial elements just as a background subroutine to ensure the frequency pitch is in a very well equilibrium stabilized aspect, because behind tangibility, when it comes to my life's work, I love the word stability to be utilized, because stability is what makes it real also. So that's the best attempt, of course, I've come up with certain configuration to have the most stabilized directions of earth, fire, water, and wind, which is a very important, conducive equilibrium, wholeness, longevity aspect of wholeness as well. So that's why I always discuss that one shot. Okay. So above the clear quartz is actually selenite, seen right here, which is a main component of the device, which I will circle back to eventually, because I oftentimes save the selenite for very last as a capstone to any given dissertation, as well as black kyanite seen right here. So I'll do my best to remember when I get up to here to discuss this capstone action to, of course, notarize and refer back to this particular segment that plays a very important role, which is actually the selenite and the black kyanite are actually terminated directly to the main heart for a very distinctive purpose, which I will circle back to in probably a half hour from now, I'm going to guess, of this trajectory. Because there's still a great amount to cover. So right here is emerald. Emerald is a lovely, legendary green ray, heart chakra, water elemental stimulant of abundance, unrivaled mineral kingdom. So also, that's a green ray cousin to the primary focus of aquamarine, to be a true precious stone of royal antiquity notarization of magical abundance, right here, of emerald. Quite literally one of the most famous stones in the world for good reason. Then next to that is sunstone. Sunstone's a very fantastic, beneficent sunny energy, to be a fantastic stimulant to the solar plexus and the sacrum, and very much a confidence-inducing joy, zest for life frequency. It truly is an amazing, dynamic, fun, balanced fire energy that I employ quite often as well for that purpose, because it's just quite simply a very fun, enlightening energy, and very joy-inducing. Exuberance, if you would. Then down here would be Prophecy Stone. Prophecy Stone is actually quite the interesting novelty of being a pseudo-hematoid, which means it's partly like hematite and metal-based, but apparently has, according to science, has elements in the periodic table not represented on Earth, our planet, actually make up the structure of this particular meteorite. And so it's called Prophecy Stone because the gentleman who discovered this had a massive, unexpected prophetic vision, who, in the middle of Libya is where this comes from. And it has a very powerful 6th and 7th stimulation. So it has a dramatic higher awareness awakening, hence to be very conducive to prophetic visions. But also, since it has elements of iron in it, it makes very strong grounding of this energy into the 3D Earth bandwidth range, which makes it a very dynamic, another master frequency generator for any given construct to give it a larger vibratory threshold boost, but thank goodness from the ground up. Okay. So speaking of ground up boost, this would be actually, that's not, okay, that's black tektite. Black tektite is a fantastic, basically, product of nickel iron meteorite impacting the sand, carrying an extraterrestrial jolt, which I kind of jokingly refer to as space obsidian. From the high heat and pressure impacting sand, it carries that extraterrestrial jolt of energy that actually vaporizes sand, making it into a tektite, a space glass. And so luckily, it being a black ray crystal makes for a very powerful foundational stimulation of the earth stars all the way up through the entire chakra column. So that makes for a very powerful foundational acceleration of the entire base chakra earth star energies to raise the vibrational threshold of the entire chakra column in a very high dynamic way. And why it's so practical and utilitarian for raising vibrations is the aspect of being a black ray crystal to do it from the feet up through the entire scaffolding of the human avatar, which makes it quite handy. The next to that would be one of my favorite crystals utilized quite religiously as well, would be green ray seraphinite, named after the seraphim archangels. And it's a very fantastic full light bistimulant that actually works from the entire chakra column as well, much like star argonite, actually dismantles any patterns of dis-ease found in the cellular structure, basically being a catalyst that burns off any aspects in a very gently and very safe and actually very harmonious fashion, any patterns of dis-ease in the mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional bodies simultaneously. So it's truly a dynamic master healer for that purpose. So, of course, they work great in tandem with the star Argonite. Since they both have much like the same energy pathway stimulation, they work great together, much like Ketchum and Fry's, to make for a full light body healing activation and dismantling any patterns that be impeding one's highest light body configuration, which would be their Dharmic template manifest in the 3D physical avatar. Then right here is another massive boost of energy of Fulgurite. This is literally the product of lightning striking sand carrying the energy of lightning in a crystalline structure, which is a very, very powerful full light body stimulant in its own right. From the once again, the whole entire chakra calm is literally induced by the frequency force of lightning, which also in a aspect too is that I'll discuss right now is that all these other frequencies are designed to, of course, buffer and ping and ground and redirect and transmute excess current of these high frequency natures in a very comprehensive self-contained unit, if you would. So, of course, the power of lightning goes a very long way for awakening one to a very high calibration of one's divinity, which works much like a lightning force for the entire chakra calm to be a full light body stimulant. As well as it was a well-utilized spirit tool of First Nation shamans to intensify their prayers back to Creator by having that alignment of lightning frequency. They intensify their prayers back to Creator with their medicine. So this was a classic First Nation shamanic tool for that purpose, to intensify their magic. Then right there would be Skoasite. Skoasite's a fantastic white ray stone divinity that is fantastic for the 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakra stimulation. Also brings a very powerful divine awareness, witness self perspective of extremely clear mind in connection to creation, which is a very advantageous divinity disposition to have right there in the subroutine. Then right here will be a little dose of tourmalated quartz. Tourmalated quartz is actually clear quartz with black tourmaline in the structure, which works to super amplify black tourmaline, which, just like smoky quartz, is a fantastic black ray grounder of energy by transmuting negativity by firmly grounding to the earth for consistent energetic dialysis reprocessing. Then right here will be a lovely specimen of lepidolite. Lepidolite is a very amazing purple ray water elemental soother of energy body and an extreme oasis of calm generating frequency as well, which would be very conducive to be in one's truth, to be calm in one's sovereign nature. So this right here, lepidolite, actually is potassium and lithium combined to make a very, very soothing, de-stressing frequency emanation. Then right here will be ruby and zoisite. So ruby is the quintessential red ray root chakra stimulant of the mineral kingdom to bring great amounts of grounding into the energy body. Then the zoisite is the green ray impeccable heart-mind coherence engager, which is a very conducive to being in one's alignment highest truth with gusto, is to have the heart-mind coherence being well established by the zoisite is the greatest gift. So just about almost be the entirety of the engine section. So I'll discuss this guy right now, which I saved for last because this gets quite meta and there's no real non-far out way to describe this crystal based on its versatile range, but I'll do my best to keep it consolidated, coherent, and concise. This right here will be a very special crystal called Celestial Smoky Quartz. Just like smoky quartz mentioned right here, it's a fantastic grounder of negativity into positivity, but the celestial structure of how it grows actually gives it a very special property that's well utilized in light tech. So the aspect of the celestial structure works much like an auto dimmer switch regulator or a governor or a surge protector to ensure the frequency pitch of the entire device is in the most comfortable optimal range of the recipient and whoever is wielding this, to auto-calibrate to their highest dynamic pitch and meet them halfway where the highest good and comfort would be. It gets very meta, I know, but the aspect also works as a perfect frequency dimmer of the entire construct of whoever is wielding it. It auto-adapts to the chakra calm of the calibration required to the highest comfortable optimal wieldable range, which means, of course, it will work to slow down the vibratory threshold of the entire device when needed by the recipient or raise or increase. It's very dynamic and very fluctuating. And I know, of course, it's one of those things, keeping coherent, concise, and consolidated would be quite the challenge because it's such a dynamic, far out concept, but I digress. It's quite simply, it works as a optimum regulation frequency pitch to take the entire current and keep it the most comfortable equilibrium range of whoever is wielding it. I said it 3 times, but I hope that made sense the third time, maybe. Anyhow, like I mentioned, I'll circle back to the selenite and black kyanite later, and now I'll be continuing on with the dissertation up towards the primary blade face over here. So like mentioned, up the sides of this lovely blue leather, which is actually intentional to have wrapped right now for dissertation's sake. So the leather here plays much more than aesthetics, actually. So underneath this section right here, as seen right here, the transportation ratio, this goes up the sides right here to this lateral band to be its own containment. And so the blue leather, of course, is a color therapy encourager of the fifth chakra stimulation, which is very conducive to the truth archetypal designation platform, as well as a way to insulate or condense the energy between the 2 points to make sure the energy running pathway here has more of a focus through these blade bands. So it's basically not leaking energy to keep the energy more consolidated and focused, as well as, of course, it looks like a completed aesthetically pleasing tool with this kind of blue leather placement. But indeed, it's far more than ever aesthetics when it comes to the leather of these devices, which I'll get into right now before I continue up to this section. So right here, this white leather, after this video is fully taken care of, this will be wrapped in a very aesthetic pleasing fashion as well around the main engine for many purposes, more than just aesthetics. Once again, try to do this with one hand while I hold this phone to give kind of a good idea. Okay, so the aspect of the white range of leather being utilized by the main heart with all these dynamic constructs has many purposes as well, such as A, the color therapy resonance of the white ray, which is the full electromagnetic spectrum of red to purple in one unified emanation, as well as B, to protect all these subtle stones as they're being wielded naturally, so they never run away and never get damaged. So that's another purpose as well for that particular section, as well as being, once again, another insulator of energy to make sure that all the excess energy of this entire subroutine engine is actually being well contained and arced to have less energy leak, if you would, for more efficiency, to run the current through this bottom blade band, which will be exposed to perpetuate the recirculation of the primary focus to most importantly, intensify the business end of this wand, basically. As well as, once that's well installed, these guys will be installed kind of like hood scoops for an engine, if you would, of the clear quartz with the flower of life embossed upon it, which is the sacred geometric building blocks of all creation, which should not need much introduction on one side, as well as the 1,000-petal lotus flower blossom, which is very synonymous with enlightenment for many different circles as well, particularly with self-realization fellowship, for example, and a very classic lotus symbol of one's enlightenment or awakening, which is the idea of the truth as well, to be enlightened to who they really are with self-realization, right? So that's the aspect why that's there as well, which will be a nice little homage badge to the entire construct, very complimentary. So those will be installed on top of the white leather once this video is taken care of. So I'll go and drop that leather off and get back up to the blade face. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab this book to help me set this blade up straight. So this right here will be the primary thumb engagement. So obviously what that means is designed to actually engage the thumb like so to complete the circuit of the contact patch right here for the thumb. And it's quite the diverse little power pack right here with exotic variables. So starting off with the core foundation of this would be the large piece of Libyan gold tektite, which was a very famously utilized pharaohic gem of ancient Egyptian Magi God King, which would be carved into scarabæus and set in the center of their Magi God King breastplates, which was indicative of their badge of office of being the pharaohs. And it has a very unparalleled stimulation of the solar plexus and sacrum, making a very powerful cardinal fire energy, but yet with the golden ray of illumination being so intensive, it actually works as a full light body stimulant as well, which puts a very powerful gold ray emanation through the entire auric field. That would be, of course, another tremendous dharmic accelerant to align one's will with their highest self in connection to creation, is the aspect of a dharmic accelerant in a lot of ways. So that's a very powerful frequency of sovereign royalty of the Egyptian caste, and of course was very much the confidence-inducing aspect in this timeline as well I would say there is no stronger stimulant of confidence induction than the space glass of Libyan gold tektite seen right there, which plays for a very powerful aspect of being really in alignment and confidence of who one really is in connection to creation, is a great aspect of Libyan gold tektite as well. Then next to that would be its green ray cousin, vibrationally speaking, of moldavite. Moldavite is quite the famous or infamous crystal these days for being a tremendous green ray heart chakra stimulant of unparalleled veracity, to put it lightly. And so the green ray aspect of the moldavite is the most powerful quintessential dharmic accelerant in the mineral kingdom, just about, in a very hurricane force alignment to one's dharmic template. So by itself, it's been notarized to be rather volatile on the false self matrix and change one's life to its highest configuration. So obviously a small dose with many different subroutines works to mitigate the timeline whiplash or the growing pains associated with one's dharmic template fully aligned to the conscious self in such a complexive subroutine, which has been the vibration engineered design for a while now, for that exact purpose, to bring comfort as much as possible to one's massive dharmic template fully anchoring into the conscious self in real time. Then to encourage further truth, a lateral band around this little power pack is that of a heavier concentration of lapis lazuli in clear quartz. So lapis lazuli, like mentioned thrice before this, is also a tremendous 5th and 6th chakra stimulant of one's highest truth in a very dynamic way. So that's why the heavy concentration is there. I don't need to discuss it more. But that's, of course, why the thumb engagement is designed to, of course, engage the thumb, to engage the circuit, if you would, to really activate the entirety of the resonance frequency in tandem with one's auric field. So that'd be that guy. I'll go ahead and put this book back now because that served its job great. Okay. So the blade face right here has a very prominent feature of, once again, blue ray stones, like mentioned almost half an hour ago at this point. But starting off right here is a rose quartz shaped like a star, and so both sides of the blade face are aesthetically and also staggered as possible to be as even in the vibratory pitches. So it's very symmetrical in that purpose by design as well, to be a very balanced emanation of both the left and right blade face. So starting off with the rose quartz carved into a star on both sides is a very fantastic pink ray high heart love stimulant, that connection to creation love frequency, which obviously is very nice in a heavier dose. Then going into blue lace agate, like mentioned many times now, would be a stabilization of the 5th chakra. Then larimar to be a lovely 5th and 6th 5th chakra stimulant as well, like mentioned down here. Then once again, lapis, another heavier concentration of that 5th and 6th chakra window mental stimulation of ancient antiquity of magic utilization. And going up to the very apex of the blade band would be aquatine calcite, or Lemurian blue onyx, they call it, which has versatile trade names. But the aspect of this being kind of a blue onyx is very much a stabilization, condensing of 5th chakra stimulation as well, to, once again, you guessed it, be very encouraging for stabilizing and condensing the energy of one's highest truth into form. Then next to that was a very special specimen of oceanic calcite, which I harvested myself from the coast of Oregon. And so this right here, of course, is white calcite, which by itself is a very fantastic, underrated, full spectrum clear of negativity into positivity by being a very powerful stagnant releaser from the entire spectrum range. But the aspect of what makes it truly remarkable here, quite literally, would be the aspect that it's been tumbled by the ocean itself for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. God literally knows the answer to that. And the aspect of that indelible mark of the ocean tumbling it brings a very powerful oceanic frequency resonance through the entirety of the construct, which brings basically the clearing capacity of the ocean on an already very clearing capacity frequency crystal. So that makes for a very dynamic clearing of the oceanic energy through the entire structure. Then I'll discuss the focalizers seen right here, then to the selenites and kinates, which will be the last aspect of this video. So right here, these guys grounded on the side are, of course, designed to be focalizers to focus the energy, which is grounded into the primary wire. So of course, all these other frequencies mentioned thus far in this closed loop circuit are grounded to one main vein of the primary wire right here of copper, brass, and silver to be a great triangulation of metals, to have these guys grounded into that, to bring a sharp focus, directional purpose of this device is the idea of these guys, with titanium ore quartz back here to be a lovely modern product of modern alchemy, to bring titanium to pressure coat it onto clear quartz, brings a very dynamic titanium frequency alignment, which is actually a very powerful rainbow light bistimulant as well, and very much a fortifying, strengthening frequency generation for the entire field, that of the strength of titanium, which is very nice. That's also why it makes for a great strengthening focus of the energy that goes into clear quartz, seen right here. So clear quartz, like mentioned many times in the video at this point too, is a nice neutral ambient projection of energy that can be very well charged or programmed by intention, if you would. So that makes for the perfect neutral ambient focus of the energy. For example, I have engaged right here, and of course it takes the focus of the energy and then directs the current right to my tree buddy outside to make a two-way contact patch with the sacred one-legged in my backyard, for example. So that aspect right there takes the entire frequency pitch of this closed-loop figure 8 and gives it a directional focus with intention, which thereby makes it consciousness-assisted technology. And before I discuss the intricacies of last but not least, the core of this actually is cedar wood. Here from my lovely backyard, this guy right here, which I live in a lovely forest, so luckily many of these different branches that are required for projects will drop to the ground each time I take on a commission, and it presents itself. So that would be the home tree of this device right here. So the aspect also of cedarwood is quite steeped in magical lore as well, which I will omit just to consolidate the video. But the cedar is a very nice neutral lighter frequency emanation on atomical structure that's very conducive to other forms of magic, which I won't get into right now. But the aspect of the atomical structure of cedar also makes for a great, lovely foundation of the wood resonant range of this entire device. Of the, carbon-based resonance of cedar being very compatible with carbon-based resonance of our physical avatars, at least for now, in most circumstances. Okay, so last but not least, now I'll be discussing the selenites right here, as well as the kyanite spectrums, which is the comprehensive capstone oftentimes. So in this entire crystalline dissertation thus far of nearly 37.5 minutes, all these frequencies are running a closed-loop circuit, which I mentioned many times now. But the aspect of selenite by itself, actually, I'll discuss that first. Selenite is a very fantastic 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakra stimulant to be a very tremendous two-way connection to one's dharmic godhead or higher self, in connection to conscious self alignment, which is a very, very amazing spiritual aspirant advantageous tool in its own right. And with that high frequency induction also makes for a very powerful master healer to burn off stagnant energies from the top to bottom through high divine transmutation, which is very nice in its own right. And what I was just mentioning a few moments ago before I discussed that part is that this entire device in a closed reactive circuit, they all, of course, run next to the selenite for a distinct purpose. Selenite can take an entire frequency pitch of a closed-loop circuit. It can purify all these crystals in a closed-loop circuit. It can also intensify and amplify all of these crystals in a closed-loop circuit. And perhaps most importantly, bring harmony and equilibrium and cohesiveness to the entire frequency pitch. So that's always the triumphant trifecta I discussed for last to give a comprehensive capstone to take this entire frequency pitch of notarization that has gone on for about 38.5 minutes now, and to purify all these crystals in one circuit, one closed loop contained device, then to amplify, intensify, then to harmonize and bring equilibrium is always the grounds for a truly triumphant dynamic for a functional spirit tool. So that always is quite nice. Then discussing the kyanites gets pretty meta once again because it's quite the vast topic to broach in a linear, coherent, sensical fashion. So I'll discuss the black kyanites seen right here. And also before I do that, so the aspect, of course, of the selenite next to the clear quartz with the black kyanite plays a very intrinsic role to bring a further purification, harmonization, amplification subroutine to the entirety of the engine structure seen right here. That's why I saved that for last, because it's quite the mouthful to discuss in one shot, just like everything else in these videos. And the black kyanite makes for a very fantastic rapid grounding of energy. So kyanites, for that matter, are the most rapid transfers of energy in the mineral kingdom, which makes them very dynamic agents of tangibilizing frequency broadcasts, which, of course, makes the magic real once again. And then the black kyanite particularly works as a very fast black ray, rapid grounder of energy very quickly in the mineral kingdom. So obviously I'm illustrating the rapid transfers with my pen motions right here through the chakra column to do my best to illustrate the concept. So the black kyanite is the unparalleled rapid bridge of energy in the mineral kingdom through the earth stars, the base, right here, the whole bottom. It actually grounds so dynamic so quickly that it always maintains an auto-regulation frequency pitch, which basically makes it like a surge protector to constantly ground the energy into the earth to make the magic real and provide a very high yield of transmutation. That's a lot to talk about. I'm having a clear my throat again. I'm having a fifth chakra attack. Okay, so that's black kyanite mentioned here. Then orange kyanite is a very, very powerful sacrum stimulant to the highest capacity. So with such a high transfer energy, this of course bridges the sacrum to the absolute highest capacity to one's dharmic connection creation. Then the green kyanite is the most diverse rapid transfer of heart energy to the highest absolute configuration. Then blue kyanite is a very powerful third eye stimulant that basically works as a great neuropathway alignment to bridge patterns of the right and left hemisphere into cohesive manner, which basically mitigates the cross friction of the right and left hemisphere, aka awakened third eye. So the dynamic pitch of all these kyanites also work as another layer of etheric Teflon to really encourage the maximum trajectory of one's highest dharmic template energy aligned to the conscious self. So, like I joked, etheric Teflon will be rerouting energy so quickly through the different buffers that stagnant energies of divisitory nature, not of one's truth, would have a very hard time enduring this rapid transfer of energy to redirect so quickly of one's dharmic template made real, basically. And by golly, that would actually be it. Okay, so that'd be finally after almost 42 minutes, that'd be the entire crystalline composition notarized. Clear my throat one more time because it's quite a bit to talk about as always. So the big aspect also, as a summary, is that the truth, the blade named Truth, is a very intensive, dynamic, full light body activator that stimulates every chakra epicenter in a very stabilized, efficient manner of the highest engineered calibration possible, God willing. And the aspect also is that its heavy concentration as the blue ray fifth chakra stimulant to encourage one's truth into full tangibility is the big prerogative of this construct. And to basically have that personal truth being very concentrated in this entirety of this construct of a wand named Truth, of a light blade. So that would basically be it. So yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess that'd be it. 1,000 blessings, and may the force be with us all.